at a certain point, we came to realize, A, the textbook wasn't selling anymore. It hadn't been published for quite some time. The third edition came out, and textbooks were dying on the vine. No one was interested in paying for it. There was an increasing move to provide material online. We had done a lot of that in the History Matters website, but we also came to realize how important what the narrative thread that the textbook provided for users of our other materials, including the videos that we produced and the teacher's guide.
So we wanted to make it an open educational resource that would be available to anyone, anywhere in the world for no cost.
And what the OER made possible was the merging and melding of all of the different resources that we had produced.
We also realized that, history is not static. And so although we had a 2-volume textbook, history had changed in the 12 years since it had last been published. We wanted to both update the content to the present, but also look at how the new ways that history is being interpreted and different approaches to history that isn't prevalent in the current scholarship.
And that's very much the way textbooks have moved. There's much more of an emphasis on online available sources that can be tailored by faculty to the particular needs of their students and the way they teach. And that's what the OER allows us to do.
So I have worked at ASHP as a researcher for a few years, but I've also been an instructor in many CUNY classrooms. So the OER has helped me to think about different ways I might implement it in the classroom. I'm really excited to have the ability to utilize a textbook that is driven by the history of working people in the United States. The textbook portion of Who Built America is so richly multi-layered, so I can imagine students being able to interact with the OER in ways that they wouldn't be able to with traditional textbooks.
So yeah, from the homepage of the OER, you can access the textbook and the table of content, as well as a number of complementary resources, such as the History Matters repository. And eventually users will be able to filter sources based on historical period, theme, type of resource, and so forth and so on. So as users are browsing through the chapters of the OER, they will be able to read the historical narrative while also accessing the primary sources, which are laid out side to side with the narrative. They are meant to offer an additional layer of historical interpretation and historical analysis as well. We are working on an interactive tool that we call MyWBA collection tool that will allow users to create teaching packets that includes different sections of the textbook, as well as primary sources and supplemental essays.
I'm really encouraged to urge students to look at the different voices throughout the chapters. We have people speaking from different unions. We have everyday people on the ground talking about their experiences during different moments in U.S. history. And one of the aspects of the OER that I'm most excited to introduce to students are the supplementary materials. In particular, the closer look essays are something I can imagine students would really latch onto. I think the deeper dive that those essays provide are something that students don't traditionally get in a textbook experience. I would imagine implementing the essays about disability rights activism in my class, one about the history of ACT UP, essays related to the history of the U.S.-Mexico border. So these are all topics that are relevant to students today in a variety of ways. So part of the work that we did as a team at ASHP to prepare the text for the OER version was a series of terminology updates, particularly the terms that relate to different historical groups, especially in terms of identity based on race, gender, sexuality, things of that sort. Making sure that the textbook acknowledges the history of different terms used to describe different groups of people, while ensuring that they are up to the standards of language that students will be used to in today's day and age.
It's also an instance, and it'd be nice if there are more of them, an instance of attempting to take the riches that are online now and providing a narrative and a teaching resource that is coherent, as opposed to the flood of materials that are available, but in many instances are extremely difficult to use.
OER is the project's legacy. I mean, it is the sort of, as Josh suggests, the culmination of so much of what we've been trying to do for 4 decades. But it is a kind of legacy that we send out to the wider world and hope it will be used and improved. The nice thing about digital projects, unlike dead tree projects, is they're relatively easy to expand and change compared to, what you have to do to write a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth edition of a textbook. It's not the end of the project, but it's an important legacy that sums up the last 4 decades of what we've been trying to do.
And it's drawn in new and younger scholars to writing essays that we hope will, continue to be engaged with the project and will continue to contribute to future, kind of red editions of the OER.
What would the field/profession of history be like without ASHP?
It would be impoverished. It would be sad and impoverished.
Without ASHP, history would be in even worse shape than it is today.
Because if we have any hope of a better world, it's only going to come because we engage with the difficult parts of our past. That's exactly what Who Built America was designed to do, to alter the angle by which people see that past, and to create some new hope that something better may be possible.